In the face of a giant, there are four people that you're going to encounter. Whenever a giant emerges, there are four groups of people that also emerge. Firstly, these are people that are called the trained soldiers. The trained soldiers, they are the ones with the equipment. They've got the dress code. They've got the formula on how to deal with the enemy, how to deal with the giant. But guess what? When a giant arises, fear cripples them. They can't face this giant. They run away. They stay in their camp and never go to face the giant. Why? Because fear has crippled them. Secondly, it's the King Saul type of people. King Saul is a king. He's well capable to go to war. He's well experienced. He can lead a war. But in the presence of a giant, he chooses to sit at home and uses his resources. Now this is what he says. Anyone who will destroy the giant, I will give them my daughter. They will not pay tax. So they use a reward system. They don't want to go to the front line. They use somebody to go to the front line, but their money, their wealth will then pay somebody to put their life on the line. But them, they will stay in the palace. Thirdly, there are guys we call civilians. Civilians are people that, as we always know, they are not really participating in the decision making of things. The only time that a civilian is considered is when it's time to vote. But when key decisions are to be made, like for example in a parliament, civilians are not really considered. So now civilians, when a giant arises, they stay at home. They don't matter how you're going to deal with the giant. All they want is the news. So they wait with their remotes, checking the news. What's the update? What's going on in that situation? What did they decide? Who has won? Who has lost? What's going to happen? So that's all you'll find from a civilian. But a civilian will never think of going to face the giant. But there's a last group, and a very interesting group. It's called the David group. The David group, these are guys with no much experience. There's no qualification. They don't even have the kit to wear to go and face a giant. No ammunition in their hands. But all they have is what we call courage. They look at the giant and say, the fact that you are challenging my village, you are challenging my nation, you are challenging my family, I'm going to deal with you. I don't care how qualified you are, how huge you can look before me, but what I know is I've got the courage through my Lord to deal with you. So there goes the young David. He says, what's the reward? And this giant is nothing. And that on top of that, every David has got a hidden testimony. This is a testimony that nobody knows. The guy only knows what he has been through. Just like some of you, you've gone through certain things and you've won certain battles, but nobody knows that you've ever won such a battle. So that's what would then push you to go and face the giant, to say, if the Lord was with me yesterday, he can be with me now. What am I saying in all this? My question to you today is, which group do you fall into? Are you a civilian? Are you King Saul? Are you the soldiers? Or you're going to choose to be David? Not that much qualified, but he's got courage. Hey, in this generation and in this season, you need courage to face the giant.